Watch this.
Are we making a mountain out of a molehill?
Yes.
We're hearing from Idaho's Attorney General and his response after he was taken off of part of the Idaho transportation lawsuit. At the center of it, the block sale of the old State Street campus. Wrapping up the week, we're looking back at the May primary election and the very famous phrase, "Every vote counts." And sticking with elections, let's talk about transparency. We'll tell you how human error was caught and corrected quickly following Tuesday's election. It's just business as usual, but not really. The Idaho Board of Examiners closed out a private executive session, and their big move was a statement of no action. They were discussing their legal strategy on the State Street ITD building. Private buyers thought that they bought the property until the state transportation budget blocked the sale. And our Andrew Bartline caught up with the Attorney General of the state of Idaho in the hallway after this executive session this morning, I should say, and getting those details and the cards and all of this is very interesting.
Yeah, but private counsel is now joining, and that's partly the piece that made this interesting. That's the newest thing we learned earlier this week, Joe. They're coming in to assist the state in parts of this case because the AG told us today he and the governor seemed to be out of step, both in their communication and legal strategy. If you think a business partner is only strong as their word,
this is a legitimate commercial transaction,
then you know only a signature is binding.
Purchase and sale. That was not completed.
Meaning the state decided to bail on this ITD property sale, breaking their word on a $52 million deal.
Please know that we did not just come to this conclusion willy-nilly without careful thought.
And a careful vote.
House Bill 726 has passed the House.
It later became law, fittingly, through a Dodge signature.
As far as, hey, we may get sued, well, kind of get sued for anything nowadays, right?
The winning bidder filed the suit a month later.
Examiners come to order.
This Friday board meeting between the governor, attorney general, and secretary of state booted us. Legally, they can to discuss private legal strategy, which seems up in the air. A statement from the governor's office says the attorney general worked behind his back, saying, quote, the filings were neither presented nor approved by the board prior to filing.
No, that's not accurate. So they had always been made aware of what our legal strategy was going to be.
So this idea that you submitted documents without consulting the other people in the Board of Examiners, you're saying that's not true?
We consulted the staff and we consulted the governor.
Why have I heard then that that's not what happened?
Because it's whatever statements have been made contrary to that are completely inaccurate.
Court documents show the governor is now bringing in a private attorney to represent the Department of Admin and ITD. AG Labrador still represents the state.
It doesn't happen very often, but in this case, he disagreed with the legal strategy on this case, and he's free to do that.
The disagreement is seen in both briefs. AG Labrador prepared to defend the state legislature and uphold their action to block the sale. The private attorney's brief just asked the court to make a decision one way or the other.
Our legal strategy on this is pretty simple. It's that this is not the right venue. This is not the right way to force the state to create a contract or to engage in a contract. So I don't really have an opinion about the fight between the governor and the legislature.
Roll call vote.
In the executive session today, no further action was taken. Just a chance to get back on the same page.
You guys haven't, we are adjourned.
We know the governor has been conflicted on blocking this sale, or the block of the sale, I should say. He disagrees with the legislature that blocked it. We know that from his transmittal letter, and he was not willing to throw them under the bus, essentially, with a veto, because he says it would have risked losing the rest of the budget that he did otherwise like. So now a judge could essentially save what the governor wants by making that decision to block the sale for him. In that case, Joe, he would get to have his cake and eat it too. But the problem is the attorney general wants to keep the block in place, so they don't see eye to eye on this.
This will be a very interesting case for us to follow into the summer. I believe that the arguments at the Idaho Supreme Court are scheduled in sometime in August, late August. Andrew, thank you for the report. We'll check back in on this story as it continues. Well, what a week. Remember the May primary election was back on Tuesday. All right, special reminder about the election night results. Results are unofficial until certified by the canvass on June 5th, 2024. Why? Well, results need to be audited to make sure they are accurate. Human-run elections, they do leave room for some human error. Errors, though, that are caught by the review and audit process. So a few things that we want to report to you. In District 30, Butte County Representative Seat B race came down to 10 votes on election night, the race between candidates Ben Furman and Julianne Young. Upon review, an error was found. Idaho Secretary of State says that Butte County uses a hand count tabulation, and the discrepancy was because of a data entry error during the manual entry of the results into the state election results reporting system. So the actual result came down to only 2 votes. Results remain unchanged. Furman wins the race, but that 2-vote margin is slim enough for a recount. Idaho law allows the candidates in the District 30 race to request a free recount after the results have been canvassed on June 5th. And I'm sure you can guess how I want to end this story. You can say it with me at home. Every vote counts. And sticking with transparency in the election world, a report this afternoon out of Ada County. The audit process worked there as well. Similar situation that we just talked about, some human error that was caught. Ada County Elections shared with me this afternoon that during their review process, it was found that a slight human error omitted 33 ballots total. So some of those were Republican primary ballots, some of them were Democratic primary ballots. The Ada County clerk says that the ballots were properly scanned on election night, but due to human error, they were not uploaded directly to the results page. So none of the results are changed as a result of the correction, but still, it's crucial to know that human-run elections have some human error. That's why we look at them. And to be clear, in Ada County and Butte County, there was no technology that contributed to the errors. They were human-caused. And that happens. And it's a reminder as to why results are audited and certified a few weeks later, and they are not final on election night. And speaking of election results, numbers are in for the Idaho Democratic Caucus last night, and there's no surprise with the winner. Current President Joe Biden is the winner with over 95% of the vote here in Idaho. So he wins all 23 delegates and 2 alternates for the Democratic National Convention coming up in August. The more surprising part of the Democratic Caucus was the low voter turnout. Only 2,412 people voted in the caucus statewide, and every single one of the 6 candidates got a little bit of love. The candidate with the second most votes was author Marianne Williamson with just over 3% of the vote, which is only 79 votes according to the Idaho Democratic Caucus. The low voter turnout could be because President Biden already clinched enough national delegates back in March to earn the Democratic nomination, or maybe because the primary was on Tuesday. Either way, the Idaho Dems will officially pick their candidate with all the other Democratic delegations at the national convention coming up again in August. The Republicans will officially select their presidential nominee, likely Donald Trump, at their national convention in July. It's Memorial Day weekend, and I'm sure a lot of you are happy to hit the road. But you might not be so happy about the gas prices on your road trip, especially after we show you what they used to be on this weekend in years past. Tell us what your holiday weekend plans are, or really anything about our show. Text us at the number on your screen, 208-321-5614. Don't forget your name and hashtag the 208 so we can show your comments and questions live at the end of the show. It's finally the weekend, and a long weekend at that. Maybe you're hopping in the car for a road trip after the 208. And there are historically two factors when it comes to who's hitting the roads this weekend: the weather and gas prices. This year, according to Gas Buddy, Idaho drivers are paying an average of $3.78 a gallon, which is actually better than last week, which was 5 cents higher and nearly 13 cents lower than last month. But higher by about 5 cents a gallon is what we were paying this time last year. And that's nothing compared to Idaho's highest price ever at $5.25 in July 2022. But remember the days of $2 a gallon? Oh, you got to go back to the early days of the pandemic for that. But we're getting to jump on the inevitable annual story train of what will you pay to head out of town. When I say we've been tracking it for years, we're not selling you a bridge in Brooklyn or Boise for that matter. We tried showing you this on Monday, but we had some technical difficulties, so we'll try this again. Brian Holmes, take two.
Let's go back 25 years. Before the turn of the century, before 9/11, before smartphones, when you could find gas in Boise for less than $1.30 a gallon. Oh, those were the days.
But just watching people get gas?
Yeah, watching people get gas is what we did in the days leading up to Memorial Day weekend. Like we did 5 years later, when Econ 101 could explain why a gallon of gas was $1.99.
Now we have limited supply, high demand. It's the perfect recipe for higher gasoline prices at the pump.
Plus, the conflict in Iraq is making the world market nervous about gas supply.
A good portion of it is fear.
By 2008, the conflict in Iraq was still a thing, and we had just entered the Great Recession, which spawned a great idea by a local radio station. Drivers who were facing at least $2.50 a gallon would not pay that day.
It's Memorial Day weekend, a lot of people going out of town, and everybody knows how expensive and horribly awful gas prices are. And basically, we're just giving out free gas for Memorial Day.
A year later, gas prices actually went down, which is why the number of holiday travelers on the road went up.
One of the reasons more people are traveling? Gas prices. Idaho's average price for regular gasoline is $2.28, well short of the $3.75 mark for Memorial Day weekend set a year ago.
Jump ahead another 12 months. The Scott Evans.
Highway 55 will actually see 3 times as much traffic as it normally does.
Dave Carlson combo.
We call it the unofficial start to the summer travel season.
Told us the same thing.
We've seen about a 7-cent drop in the past week.
But a drop over a week doesn't mean it was lower than the year before.
Here in Idaho, gas averages $3.02 a gallon.
Oh, what we would give these days for $3 a gallon.
Well, it's the nature of the beast. I'm going to pay it regardless.
It's like what we've been doing for decades.
These are the signs of the times.
Paying for gas.
Wayne's damage.
$49 today.
No matter what the supply and demand is.
There's nothing you can do about it, so.
Don't blame you.
Don't blame Steve.
Don't blame Kathy, huh?
True.
Don't blame us, the cashiers.
We just work here.
So here you go. If you're going to fill up your truck, your car, your RV, your four-wheeler, prepare to pay the second highest price for a gallon of regular unleaded gas that you've ever paid for in Idaho, $3.78 a gallon on average, based on a survey of 802 petrol stations across the Gem State, gas stations. Just making a joke. All right, so who knows though, if you happen to see a KTVB reporter out there while you're dropping maybe more than $70, $80 to fill your tank of your truck, don't take your anger out on them. They're just trying to inform the public. Anyways, Memorial Day weekend. Hope you enjoy it. We have a big announcement coming up after the break. Some 208 news for you that may leave some of you sad, but will make sure to leave you with some sweet memories. Something else sweet, your comments. You can text them to us right now. Here's our phone number, 208-321-5614. Please include your name and hashtag the 208. We are going to get to as many of your texts as we can live at the end of the show.
Beautiful landscape there, and you might even see some showers or thunderstorms depending on where that was at, because that is what's on tap for parts of the area tonight. We're seeing more of those in eastern Oregon and the west central mountains. We will see those in the west central mountains pretty shortly. We have a cold front moving in tonight and into the overnight hours, spurring some of these showers and thunderstorms that I'm talking about. You can see some of those right now in eastern Oregon, a little bit on the stronger side. And if you look to the west, I wouldn't be too surprised if you see some dust getting kicked up with those in the distance with some stronger winds. You can see it's been mostly dry in the Treasure Valley, but some of that moisture is going to try and make it over the Owyhee Mountains. I think this will lose a good amount of steam before it actually makes it into the valley. But I wouldn't rule out a few sprinkles both in the next few hours and for the rest of tonight. So you can see some of those stronger storms are more towards eastern Oregon, and they will be in the west central mountain areas. This will all continue in the overnight hours tonight, so definitely keep that in mind. When the cold front passes in the overnight hours, here's what we're expecting, and with these thunderstorms as well. We could see some gusty winds with those maximum gusts around 40 miles an hour. Lightning possible, but a little bit less likely is going to be the localized downpours. We're not quite seeing the amount of moisture we would need to see that widespread. So in Boise, as you go through the evening, I think in Boise will stay mostly dry this evening. Again, I wouldn't rule out a sprinkle or two, a light shower. A better chance as we go into tomorrow for some of those showers in the city of trees, but then things dry out in the afternoon hours. So if you have any of those graduation parties, just know for the Treasure Valley spots looking a little bit less ideal in the morning rather than the afternoon. We should see the sun come out in the afternoon on Saturday. We warm up nicely on Sunday, 72 degrees, the high is nice and mild. We warm up even more so on Monday, which is Memorial Day, and then we get hot by Tuesday before we cool back down on Wednesday. Overall, past tomorrow, things are looking pretty ideal.
We have a sad announcement to make today. Today is our beloved reporter and friend Andrew Bartline's last day at KTVB. He's stepping away from news for now to go home and spend some time with his family. And to send him off, we thought we'd show you some of Andrew's greatest hits. Here's Brian Holmes.
So you can't really tell the difference between...
Fresh out of college, Andrew Bartline rolled off the Palouse like he just rolled out of bed.
There was a protest at
rolling into Boise and KTVB with 3 shirts, 2 jackets, and 1 new haircut.
Skill workers they need.
It didn't take Andrew long to find his footing.
But it hasn't been climbing year after year.
Yeah.
And his feel for storytelling.
It's been my life.
Gary Icola took over his father's Valley County-based logging company in the 1970s.
You know, I grew up in it. Has never been just a job.
Andrew moved easily from covering the complexity of Idaho politics.
Citizenship is not the big thing. They just want to work. And they're working in jobs that Americans won't fill.
I imagine there's some people that would disagree with that and say they came here illegally, I don't want them here anymore. Where you're coming at it from a standpoint of this is an important backbone to our workforce.
Absolutely.
And nuanced topics.
Everything weird, you know?
Everything?
It's very eye-catching.
Everything.
No pun intended.
To celebrating the oddities.
And so now if it's anchored down, we know that this thing is not going anywhere, which then prompts the question, it's got to be looking somewhere.
Of everyday Idaho life. Rookie of the Year, Reporter of the Year, Bombardier of the Recycle Bin. For a guy who has never really wanted to be on TV,
typically in place to keep people out, the bars on Art Smith's jewelry are better known for keeping someone in.
He's always here, like 7 days a week.
Every week.
Oh, from the beginning.
He surely brought us some of the best television.
Busy for now.
I heard you guys are closing end of
the month.
Now Lou Boyer.
I'm really going to miss him.
And it's the people that I'm going to miss.
In the short time he spent here. Oh yeah, hold on. There's one more thing. Considering all the post-show shots we've taken at the Blue Bucket, when it comes to who's the best newsroom athlete? Andrew. Let's just say, you're not taking that title with you.
Your shot.
Brian, well, Andrew, it's been just it's such a pleasure to have you here at Channel 7, and I know that you've just told so many great stories, and you've made a difference in so many Idahoans' lives. And I know when you're out there, you love doing your job, and you're such a great guy, and you've been such a great friend to all of us. And
I appreciate that.
You really are. It's such. I guess you're supposed to say stuff like this, but I mean it, man. I love you, and you've been such a brother, and I'll just
literally family.
Yeah.
This has been like the best part of my life, the worst part of my life, everything in between. I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it a lot. And this show is like, pride is not an emotion I know very well. But I think, like, for the first time in my life, I've been really proud of something. And I'll always be really proud of what we did at 5 o'clock every day. I'm gonna miss it.
And I know that our whole team and our management and everyone's so proud of you and everything you've done. And as you can see, I'm getting choked up. I didn't think I would, but Andrew, on behalf of the viewers, I can tell you a lot of them are writing in that they're sad to see you go. We'll stay in touch. You'll keep us informed on what you're doing. Andrew, congratulations. And Andrew's going to be embarrassed, but he's Emmy nominated in the Northwest Regional Emmys. And so we'll be following Andrew, I think, next week. Hopefully he'll bring home some nice big trophies and paperweights, as he'd like to call them. But Andrew, thank you for everything, man. Anything you wanted to add to the viewers?
I love you, Joe, and I love you guys, and you suck, Brian. I love you.
See, how's it feel to be the subject of a Brian Holmes feature now?
Get out of here.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a look at some of your comments right after the break. Get to some of your comments to end the half hour here on the 208. What a week it was. This person writes, is Idaho Transportation Department going to move back to the State Street campus? This is a great question. All of this is mixed up in legalese right now, so we'll keep an eye on that one and we'll inform you as it happens. This person says, in 1961, I paid 10 cents a gallon for gasoline in Billings, Montana. A little more expensive nowadays. Yeah, no kidding. 10 cents a gallon. That'd be nice. Great. A lot of messages coming in for Andrew. Chris says, I'm going to miss your humor and your push for truth and transparency. Good luck to you. Face towards the sun. Thank you, Chris. This person writes, we'll really miss Andrew B. We watched him grow up, and he's such a marvelous reporter. We love him, Verna and Tim. Appreciate that message in. This person says, thank you for everything, Andrew. The Channel 7 family will miss you. We absolutely will. And a final comment, great send-off. Andrew will be successful at whatever he chooses. Jeff in Boise. Yes, Andrew, we'll miss you so much. We love you. And folks, we'll see you next week. Have a great one.